Welcome to this week's edition of Metal Machine on MetalMachine.net. We're here at Magic City Con in Miami with the one and only Flash. You're the true Flash, John Wesley Shipp. He's here at Magic City Con, signing, greeting. Flash is going on. Talk to me. Tell me what's going on. How are you enjoying Miami?
I'm enjoying it very much. I expected this to be a pretty laid-back convention after I've been in New Zealand and Australia and Wales and, of course, Dragon Con in Atlanta and Detroit. And I expected this will be a little bit more mellow, but I'm telling you, yesterday was off the hook. I hope Mike is happy, the promoter,
yes,
because
absolutely.
I mean, I was busy I hit the floor at 11 and I was nonstop until about 4:30 until I had to go to photo ops.
We were walking around and we were just like, we wanted to do the interview, and you were just busy. Your line was nonstop all day.
It was solid. I'm so grateful, and the exchanges that you have with people and the things they tell you, man. If you open your heart to it, it can be really, really amazing.
Yeah, the fandom is amazing. People don't realize, especially in the sci-fi pop culture world, fans are fans. Forever. You can do this for 30 years. They're going to come up and still talk to you about stuff.
And you know what I like about this? Not to get heavy, but if anyone who's been on my Facebook page knows I'm very political. I'm very activist. I'm very into all of that thing. When you walk into this world, all that drops away.
It does.
And we just relate person to person, human to human, and I got to tell you, that's why it's a really amazing thing. There are no words.
Now let me ask you, when you did Flash, it was like what they would say, like, as the first coming of the comic book era in movies and television. Batman was going on and all that kind of stuff, the Shadow and the Phantom, and Flash was on TV. Was this going on? Were you doing the cons?
No. I'll tell you, when we had just done the pilot, and they said, there's a Comic-Con down in San Diego that we really should go to. I didn't know what a Comic-Con was. They said, okay, so we went down on a Saturday morning. We were there. We walked through it in about 2.5 hours. I signed maybe a dozen autographs, and we went back to LA. 2014 to premiere the new show, 180,000 people take over the town. It is madness. People sleep outside to get into the premiere of our show. We premiered to 7,000 people in Hall H, people who had slept out all night long. Our panels were attended by 1,100, 1,200 people in Atlanta. It's exploded, and to that extent, it's nice. Jesse Martin, first time we did Comic-Con, he said, man, we're getting so much love, we haven't even been on the air yet.
Right.
And that's the difference between Flash 2014 and Flash 1990.
Right.
We were sort of at the beginning, where the true fans, were with us.
Right.
And I have a friend who's been a comic book fan for a long time, and he's like, yeah, see, I was right.
Did you know what you were getting into this time when this was going on? Like, when you saw that, did you know, this is real. This is really going to happen?
You mean,
that was going around the show.
Totally. I knew it was coming into an audience that was ready for it.
Sure.
And then when I saw who was in the cast, Tom Cavanaugh, Jesse Martin, come on. And Grant is awesome. It's a fantastic cast. I had actually met Andrew Kreisberg, one of our executive producers. He was an assistant on the back lot at Warner Brothers when I was doing The Flash. Because I met him. I said, good. He said, I've already met you. I said, really? He said, yeah, I was an assistant, and I totally invaded your space. And I was like, wow.
So when you got to do the show, and however it happened, what were you thinking? What was the thoughts?
Well, when I heard that they were going to do no show for television, the second thing I heard was how Jeff Johns had blown up the Allen family. In other words, when I was buried, my father was not wrongfully convicted of killing my mother in front of a 10-year-old me.
Right.
Emmett Walsh did not kill Priscilla Pointer.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes, absolutely right.
But when I heard that was the news story, I was like, that Barry's the only one who believes he's innocent. And I said, if they come to me, that's the role I want.
Right.
So when my agent called and said, they want to see recent tape, I'd just done a couple of independent films, one with John Savage and Corbin Burnson, and another one for Josh Ridgway called The Sector, that's going to be on Sci-Fi later this year with Lance Henriksen and Richard Tyson. So we shot some recent footage out there to them. and they came back and offered me the role of Henry Allen, and I was like, great, that's the one I want.
We're going in actually next week, this Tuesday coming up. The show goes back on the air. So now you're going to tell us all the secrets that are going to come up for the next 8 or 10 episodes. Everything is going to drop right now.
Promise not to tell anybody.
Tell anybody on the air right now.
No, I learned my lesson when I accidentally dropped the name of Legends.
Wow.
In a Q&A that a fan was like filming.
Wow.
And it blew up on the internet. My friend Suzanne Gomez was like, hey, John, can you cool it?
Can you stop that, please?
Can you cool that?
You were getting texts right at the moment, right? Yeah, exactly.
Right at the moment.
Tell us, let's say, with the progression of Zoom, Barry facing that that villain, and the new villains that are coming on. It looks like we're getting parallel villains of characters that are on the show. With Deathstorm has been announced is coming, and Killer Frost, which is
I can't wait for that.
Yeah.
Danielle's awesome, and of course those pictures of her as Killer Frost are phenomenal. So I'm really looking forward to that. Listen, you remember last year?
Yes.
You remember after the mid-season break, and you remember the ride that we took from the mid-season break through to the end of the season was off the hook. Yeah. It's going to be no different this year. Hang on to your hats. Buckle in. Off the hook. It's going to be no different this year. Hang on to your hats. Buckle in.
So let me ask you, we were talking earlier before off camera about the goodness of the show. It's something that we've written about. There's a lot of darkness going on, especially with the Batman v Superman. We're seeing Superman is in a darker place. A lot of people have talked about this with Man of Steel. He doesn't know who he is. He's conflicted. A lot of people know Superman as the Boy Scout, the good guy. That every superhero in the DC universe looks up to him. Talk to me a little bit about the goodness of the show. There were a couple episodes of the first season where Barry tried to go a little dark and try to do things, in a more erroneous way, and it just didn't work out, and he was conflicted about that. And his dad, or his surrogate dad, had told him that's not who you are. It's just not going to play out that way. What do you think about the goodness of the show and the reflection of people actually liking this? Going into a non so dark place.
Sociologically, for a while, we almost went to a place where if you were a hero, it was almost embarrassing.
Right.
People were a little embarrassed by it. It was considered more sophisticated to be cynical about people's motivations. Okay, we've come through that.
Yes.
And we've explored all the wonderful darker sides of it because, complexity is everywhere. Nobody's all good or all bad.
Right.
Having said that, we have producers that are writing both Arrow and Flash.
Right.
And like you say, they had Barry, they know the difference between Oliver and Barry. And they had Barry even want to be a badass. He wanted to be Oliver, and it just couldn't because he has such a good heart.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that.
In fact, we celebrate that. When the new shows, Constantine, of course, Arrow was already on, Gotham, Flash, when we were all premiered in San Diego Comic-Con, I said at that point, I said, well, they're kind of throwing a lot of superhero shows up against the wall, and in an age of Game of Thrones, of Walking Dead, of Arrow, of darkness, of that whole thing, we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Which show sticks.
Sure.
And because we were always going to be the more hopeful, the more fun. I don't want to say it's more fun because Arrow and all those other shows.
No, absolutely. Arrow's my second favorite, but Flash is my first.
But I'll tell you who said it best. The interviewer for USA Today, when I read that, it came out the day we premiered, and it said how refreshing to have a superhero, one of whose powers is hope.
Yes, absolutely.
And that says it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Absolutely. I agree totally.
Yeah.
What do you want to tell the fans?
Listen, every time I come to these things, it blows me away. The stories that you share with me, your generosity and your kindness and your affirmation, I always leave feeling better than I was when I got here. So thank you.
Mr. Shipp, thank you so much. Continued success on The Flash and everything else and all the other cons. You're being bombarded here, all in Miami, right? Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Continued success.
Thank you.